What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon. You guys, we did it, right? We moved up. We had our move up to 386.8. It is the 15th of October right now. We are about 5 hours into the new day as we're speaking, or as I'm speaking. It does look to me like this is a breakout move, right? We're on the Binance chart here. You can see that there is more volume coming in than here, above average volume for sure, but definitely a breakout looking move, breakout looking volume. It's not the most volume you've ever seen, but it is the most volume you've seen since August, since the very beginning of August. So that, I think that says something there. A couple of thoughts here I want to run through, right? First is that we could find resistance here. We could. And then we move down. I don't think we're going to do that. The only thing that makes me think that we're going to do that, if we see from this high to low here, we're at the golden ratio zone, the 618 to 69, right? We're literally right there right now, or we were earlier today, and now we're below it. So we've prodded in there, and now we're back below it, right? So it makes sense most of the time when you see the 61869 to get into the zone, find resistance, pull back to your 0.5, and then move up, or pull down to your 382 and then move up, something like that, right? Constructive behavior, higher lows nonetheless, blah, 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 looks good. That almost always happens, right? And I say almost always, I should say the majority of the time that's the case of what happens whenever you're in this zone for your first time, right? The reason I think you're going to continue is that I wouldn't necessarily consider this the first time that you're in the zone. Technically, yes, from this high to this low it is the first time that you've been in this zone, but throughout this whole time here, you've been consolidating basically right below the 61869, right? Like these highs come in right there, right below the 618 area. Even this high, it's not as close, but still reaching in this area. You're breaking out now, right? If we take away the fibs, you're breaking out now of this like ascending triangle that you have going on, right? You're in the midst of that move now. You just broke out. It's not normal to break out and then break back into a pattern. It happens. It does happen. But it's not the expectation. Generally, whenever you break out of a pattern, whenever you have a move that looks like this, that's the biggest move. By the way, fun fact, we're going to take a little detour, okay? Hopefully I can come back to the same train of thought, but fun fact, that's the biggest day, you guys. This is the biggest day up or down from an open to closing basis that we've seen in Bitcoin Cash since, like literally, dude, since that huge move right there. That's crazy. Since this, literally, since March 2024. It's the biggest day. Oh no, I guess right here. This was a little bit bigger. March 5th. Okay, March 5th. Since March 5th, yeah. Anyways, coming back to the thought, we're just getting started here. If we're looking at the price, it wouldn't make sense that we stop here to me, right? It's not the normal thing. And then if we look at this in another perspective, back with the fib on it, right, from a high to a low, interacting with this area twice like that too, with the 61869 area, normally whenever you interact with it multiple times like you have, and then you come up on a third or fourth attempt, you do just break right through it and you go right to the 786, 886 zone. And that would make sense for a few reasons, because if we look at the 786, 886 here, right, you've got resistance kind of right here, you've got support back here, right, very near the 786, 886 zone. Both of these, you've got resistance up here right near that 886. So there's a lot of significance in this area. And then again, just on a fib perspective, it would make sense. On a price perspective, it would make sense to keep going. On a fib perspective, it would also make sense to keep going, in my opinion. Other than the fact that we are in the golden ratio zone, and this is technically the first attempt in it, technically, right? We've had attempts near it, but not actually in it. This is the only argument that I could make that makes me think we could go down, but I've got more arguments that make me think that we're going to go up, all right? And here's another one. Besides the price action, besides the fibs, we look at the RSI for what it is, right? Generally speaking, most people look at the RSI, they think, oh, when you're overbought, it's a good time to sell. When you're oversold, it's a good time to buy. They think it's that simple, and sometimes it is. Most of the time, it's not. Most of the time, actually, when you want to see a move up, you want to see gains in a short amount of time, you want to be in the overbought zone. You get your strongest moves almost always in the overbought zone, right? And if you want to buy at a price, right, you don't buy as soon as you get in the oversold zone, right? That's when you're just getting started doing your strong moves. Normally, right? Normally, right? If we look at this RSI here, for example, you got into the oversold zone, not this day, but the next day on the 18th of June. The 18th of June on price was right here this day. If you bought here the first day that you got oversold, would that have been a good idea? I mean, sure, it's better than buying up here, better than buying any day before, but if you waited, you would have had a way better opportunity. If you waited, you would have had even better opportunity down here. Buying in the first instance of getting oversold here, it might have played out in a very short amount of time, but in a very like not even that long amount of time, like a couple weeks, it played out more to the downside, right? You got more drives into that overbought or oversold zone. All I'm trying to say is this reading here that we're seeing in the overbought zone could be just the beginning of more to come. This right here, where you get into it and then you get out, that's not the expectation. That's not normally what happens. It does happen a good bit of the time. It's not like a rare thing that happens, but the more expected outcome would be something like this, right? Where you live in it for a little bit, right? You live in it again, right? You see all this, right? You're living in it for a little bit. You're not just getting in and then getting out, barely getting into it. I guess here you are getting in and getting out pretty quickly. But again, most of the time you have several days in it versus just like one prodded day into it. So if we look at this, I'd like to run a thought, right, that we're doing something not like this, right, where we got into the overbought zone and then got out, right, rejecting the 123 moving average, right. Now we're above it. We're breaking out of this zone. We're above it. Getting overbought. I don't think we're going to do this again. I think right now what we're doing is potentially beginning this right here, right, our next kind of phase up. We had several readings, specifically three peaks in the overbought zone, and that encompassed, if I could draw a circle, that encompassed this whole zone here, which was our last bullish phase up, right? When we went from like $200 all the way up to 720, right? Back in from like January this year to April to March. That was our last move, right, with these readings here. With these readings where you're not just prodding into the overbought zone, rejecting it like this, but where you're actually getting into it, right? We haven't seen that in a while since our last big move up, right? We just had the biggest day to the upside that we've had since this move, right? We've got overbought readings going on. The most volume we've seen since August. Feels like we're breaking out. Crypto seems like it's bullish right now. A lot of good things going on. It doesn't seem to me, in my opinion, that we would stop here. Okay, is all I'm trying to say. I would expect that we continue up immediately, and I don't think that when we stop at this, and likely we will stop, I think that we do stop at 410, 432. That's the zone I think we're going to move up to immediately, right? Probably over the next couple days or so. By the end of this week, I would expect we're up here. But I think that we have more to go, right? This might be right here where we're in the overbought zone now. This might be the first peak of 2 peaks, 3 peaks, 4 peaks, who knows how many peaks to come in this next run up. And I do believe this next run up is going to take us above this high here. Right? I believe this move that we're in right now, it's going to take us above this high here. And if it takes us above that high, from a high to a low, our target area would be 925 to 1300, right? But Bitcoin Cash does like to see deeper extensions, right? It has its whole cycle so far. The area that we could focus on instead of the normal expected primary area here at like $925 to $1,300 would be something between like closer to $1,700 and $1,900. I think would be more acceptable, and I'll go over why I think that too for anybody that forgets or anybody that's new here. By the way, if you're new here, subscribe. Hit that like button if you're new or old, right? If you haven't hit the like button, hit it. Do it. You know you want to. If you don't want to, I'm not, I can't make you, so whatever. But it's cooler when you do it. Be cooler if you did, man. Why do I think the price is going to go up here instead of the normal primary expected area, right? Again, for people that watch this channel regularly, you probably already know that answer, but for the people that don't, or maybe you forget, let's just go over that real quick. From this high to this low, right? This was the high to the low that sent you up here. You don't like that? You want me to take the high to the low of the range? Fine, we could do that. Let's take the high to the low of the range, whatever. I wanted to take that high, but whatever. The top went up to the 200 level. The 1886200, you went right there, okay? If I did the fib here, it would just be further along, right? It'd be deeper. 2272 instead of the 200. Either or, whatever, however you want to look at it, deep extensions either way, right? High to low here. Our top happened where? Again, above the 200 area, right? That one, pretty cut and dry. There's not two highs and lows to take from. It's pretty obvious which high, which low to take there. Right? 200 level there. From the high to the low here. Why do I think we're not going to stop here? Simply because we didn't here, and neither of those bullish attempts right there, neither of those bullish moves. Oh man, I need a different chart. That would have been a good transition if I was on the right chart. Neither of these bullish moves here resulted in a breakout of a all-time historical significant trend line, right? Neither of these moves here, up here or up here, broke this line, okay? Neither of those moves that did a 2272 extension, a 200 extension, right? Whatever you want to call it, to the 200 there, from a high to a low, 200 there. Neither of those moves broke above this Mac Daddy trend line that we have here, right? But this move will. This move, if we see a high above this high, really not even above that high, just above like $600, right? We move up here, we're going to be breaking this very significant trend line, right? And I think it's going to be a very bullish event. I think this is going to be possibly one of the most bullish events of Bitcoin Cash's existence, other than its creation, and I'm sure a handful of events down the line. This is a very significant moment in its history. I think it is, at least, right? I know I'm hyping it up. I'm building it up to be this thing. We'll see if it comes out to be true after it happens. Sometimes and oftentimes enough, things like these do tend to be anticlimactic, but we'll see how it goes. I would expect that that a move in anticipation with the prior two moves that goes up to the 200, right? I would expect that a move that is breaking this trend line, I would expect that it doesn't stop in the primary zone, right? I would expect that it does go a little bit deeper. So with that all in mind, my general expectations are, as they have been for quite a while now, since April I think, that we're likely going to stop somewhere around $1,700 to $1,900, right? At a minimum, by the end of the year, by the end of this move here, which I do think will be by the end of this year, not the end of the cycle, but by the end of the year 2024, at a minimum, I would expect $1,300, right, based off of this here. But I am expecting $1,700 to $1,900. That has been the call for a while, specifically $1,700. We'll see how it goes. I got nothing else I want to talk about. I think it's really cool what we're doing now. I think the rest of the month is going to be very bullish. I'm not worried about how the day looks so far. You know, it did move up a lot, now it's down, but I do believe it's going to continue moving up. The 4-hour RSI looks very bullish. Volume has died off a little bit as you're moving up, so you might correct a little bit right now, but then to end the day, I would expect you to move up more. And again, just over the coming days, I do expect rather immediate continuation. You are breaking out right now, or at least you look to be breaking out right now. I would hope you don't find resistance here and reject, but time will tell. We'll see how it goes. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I very much do believe that Bitcoin Cash is about to see prices around 410 to 430 over the coming days by the end of this week. And then by the end of this month, man, by the end of this year, we're going to be at prices that are a lot higher than $400, $500. You know, we're going to be at prices a lot higher than anything we've seen this year so far. So I don't know, man. If that sounds exciting to you, definitely subscribe to the channel. Something I haven't looked at in a second, actually, is the fact that we have bounced off of the 50 on the monthly. It is looking more and more like we're bouncing off the 50 here, and that's a very bullish signal itself, right? The monthly bouncing off the 50 it's a very strong signal. I'm just going to leave it at that. I mean, the last time that we did that over here, it literally gave us this move here. There's one more thing, actually, before I go, that I wanted to go over. I look at it all the time whenever I'm doing charts on my own, and I never bring it up here because there's always other stuff that's like that I want to go over, I guess. I get distracted, I get sidetracked, right? From a high to a low, our last cycle high to the cycle low, you see that what we did was we had a move up from the 382 to the 236. I know I've gone over this before, but it's been a while since I've gone over this, right? But some of you might not even be aware of this, but I think sometimes it is important to look at the more broad picture, the larger things, right? Going from your 382 as resistance to your 236 as support, and then right up to your 61869 zone, classic. So freaking classic, man. It's literally, it's picture perfect Fibonacci retracement steps. Like this exact move it's just textbook, right? Even more so to carry that out, going from your 61869 zone, bouncing off of your 0.5, which we didn't do, that is an option, or bouncing off of your 382, which, hey, we did do. We actually literally went right down very near to that 382, very, very close, right? It's just very common behavior when working your way up. Looking at this, just based off of this fib alone, this fib range alone, what you would do in an ideal situation, if I had to give you the most vanilla script for any Fibonacci range, right? We'll move it over here in the screen of darkness, okay? Right? It goes like this. You move down, you make your move up, whatever. You got your move up, and then you finally find your low. Now you're making a retracement. This is the most vanilla playbook that you have for any Fibonacci, any kind of retracement up, right? You go up to your 382. You find resistance to your 236. You go up to your 61869 area. You find resistance, you go back to your 0.5, 382 area, right? We'll just say you find support on your 0.5. Although I do think it's more common to go to your 382. But let's just circle this and give it an area, right? Find support here. And then you move up to your 786, 886 area, right? So you find resistance in your 619, 618 area, 69, 618 area, find support, 0.5, 382 area, and then immediately move up to your 786, 886 area. No stops, right? If it's any stops, it's going to be very short along the way, just basically marching your way up here, right? From there, you find support on your 61869, and then you make your way up to your extensions. That's the most vanilla, basic, simple playbook I could give you. You could use that in fibs across like the rest of your time trading, and that would happen so often. Like literally this exact kind of scheme happens all the time. It deviates from this often as well. It like when I say it, I mean any chart deviates from this playbook as well. I say playbook, this is a play in a playbook. You know, sometimes you get resistance on the 236, you come back down, find support on the 069. Sometimes you crowd the 382, you don't pull back to your 236, and you just shoot right up there. And then you pull back, you consolidate here, and then you move up more. Like sometimes it's not this perfect, right? And there's other things that go on. But if I had to give you the most basic kind of idea of what I would ideally look for from the beginning of any kind of retracement, this is just the first thing that comes to my mind every time, okay? There's a reason I'm going over this. I promise you there's a reason why I am annoyingly, painstakingly going over this kind of idea here. It's because if we go over here, we look at our high to low, we did exactly this. We went to the 382, 236, 618, 382 back there, finding support here, finding resistance there. Next area we'd go to is the 786, 886 area, which is right between $875 to $1,200, okay? That disagrees a little bit with my thoughts as to where we're going to be by the end of the year, right? I think that we're going to be up at $1,700, right? This is $800 to $1,200. But if you notice, we haven't been completely respectful of this playbook here, right? And that disrespect could bleed into the behavior that I'm about to go over that I'm expecting, okay? And I'll explain what I mean, okay? You didn't find resistance right at this 382, did you? You went a little bit above it. You didn't find resistance right at the 618, did you? You went a little bit above it, and you even went a little bit above the 619. You didn't find support right at the 382, did you? You found support a little bit above it. All I'm trying to say is the attitude of this is it's getting a little bit extra, right? It's giving a little bit less, and it's getting a little bit more on its moves up. If that makes any sense, I don't know. Maybe. Okay, maybe not. Maybe it does this exact thing. Maybe it tops up at the 786. Maybe I'm wrong that it goes up to 1700. Who knows? But all I'm trying to say is running with this idea that it has moved up a little bit past its expected targets this whole time, moving up throughout the whole bull cycle so far, which is this is what we have. The idea is that we move up to the 786, 886 zone, where this would be the top of our resistance point, just like the 6.9 here was, right? But we went a little bit through it. Perhaps we go a little bit through the 886. If we go a little bit through the 886, maybe we see $1,300. And again, that was the minimum expected target based off of this retracement here from a high to a low, 1,300 right at the 1618. So again, this giving validation, this retracement here from this high to this low, the cycle high, cycle low before, to the idea that the minimum target would be $1,300. Again, I am expecting that we go further than that because that's what we've seen. This will result in a lot more things, a lot more bullish things than just this fib structure alone, right? So I think that we will actually see some abnormal behavior and break through the 886. But even if we see normal behavior, we'd go to this zone, right? And based off of what we've been doing, it stands to reason that we would, I think, at least hit $1,300. But we'll see, right? Even at a pessimistic outlook, or maybe not even pessimistic, but a conservative, a realistically conservative outlook, $875 to $1,200 by the end of the year could be the minimum zone that we hit, right? But I'm personally not expecting that. Again, I do expect that we're going to be a little bit above that. That is a little bit abnormal for this kind of fib behavior. But again, it doesn't have to follow this rule book exactly, this play exactly all the way through. It can follow it through for halfway and then do its own thing the other half. Different things kind of take over, right? It might make sense that this fib would go up to the 786, 886 normally, but the fact that you'd be breaking out of this all-time consolidation phase right here alongside with that move, maybe you get a little bit of extra push to it, right? The fact that whenever you close this month green, next month green, you keep closing months green, you're going to flip this monthly ribbon bullish, you're going to get a bullish cross. That could also send you through the stratosphere, right? As this continues to move up, as you continue to get above this high, you're going to get that cross. I would expect that adds bullish momentum as well. When you form your first uptrend that you've ever had versus Bitcoin, right? BCH, BTC. Whenever you form your first, because this thing has never had an uptrend versus Bitcoin. It's only been downtrend, right? Never had higher highs and higher lows. But whenever you first form your first higher highs and higher lows on this move up that Bitcoin Cash is about to do, you're about to move up, right? Whenever this thing sees higher highs and higher lows versus Bitcoin itself, that's a very bullish thing. This is a very bullish thing with the ribbons. And then, of course, breaking the trend itself is a bullish thing. I would think it stands to reason that while you've been exceeding your target zones the last 2 times already, that you might not stop here at $1,200, right? That's just my thoughts. So gone over it enough. I hope that all makes sense. I didn't mean to go over all this stuff. I know it's a lot of the same stuff I normally go over when it comes to long-term stuff, right? Just piecing it all together. But I really did want to stick to the short-term stuff, but I feel like I got that out of the way pretty quickly. I feel like it makes sense what I'm expecting, right? We're going to continue to move up relatively immediately. I don't think this move, this like small move here, I don't think it's going to stop till we're at like 410, 430, okay? And this is just a small piece in a move that is like, this is the beginning of our next move up, right? And I went over in great detail where I expect and why I expect that next move to be where I think it is going to be. Actually, probably closer to this area up here. But anyways, if that all makes sense, if it doesn't make sense, take care, guys. I'll see you on the next one. This time was bad, man. This time was really bad. I said I was going to end the video like 20 minutes before I actually ended it. It's normally like 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the most, but I went off a little bit. So take care. Bye-bye. See you next time.